New York Giant fans, Monday Night Football. Could you honestly sit here today, what you have watched, be happy that the Giants lost against a third-string quarterback? Yes, a third-string quarterback. I know what you're going to say. He's really the second string this year. He's a third string. On any other team, he wouldn't even be on a roster. And I don't want to hear Jerry Jones, when Dak comes back, it's going to be a quarterback challenge. No, it's not. This is Dak's job. The fact that Dak had to listen to that is just a joke. This guy, Rush, is nowhere close to the talent Dak Prescott is. I know the Cowboy fans don't like him because of what he did in the playoffs last year. He made a mistake. People make mistakes. The big mistake in that game was the Giants pressing the way they did. You had a chance to win this game. You were the better team. You had the better quarterback. You had the better running back. You didn't have the best wide receiver, but your wide receiving core was just as good as the Cowboys, maybe better.
Not saying much.
No.
Outside of Lamb, obviously.
Their offensive line's better, the Giants. Defense, probably not. The Cowboys' defense has been otherworldly. They have arguably the best pass rusher in football right now in Micah Parsons. But on Monday Night Football, they should have won that game. The Cowboys in the fourth quarter outplayed them. The Giants have a very easy schedule. They have a schedule coming up right now, playing Chicago. I mean, are you serious? Chicago is 2-1 right now. Justin Fields has looked horrible. That offense has been horrendous. If the Giants lose against this Chicago Bears team this week, there is a huge problem offensively. I like Dable. I think Dable's a good coach. I think they found their coach of the future. I like his personality. I like his swag. I like his temper on the sidelines. Everything that you loved about Tom Coughlin, he is the younger version of Tom Coughlin. And the players believe in him. They trust him. And the offense is moving, even with the lack of talent that they have on the field. Thank you, Galladay, by the way. I am not a Giant fan, but the Giants should be going into this game 3-0 and possibly going 4-0 in a very early season. I know it's not the schedule, and everybody says, well, look who they've beaten. Look who they played. You play whatever on your schedule.
And nobody thought the Titans or the Panthers were worse talent-wise than the Giants going into that game either. The Giants are a rebuilding team for a reason, and they still won those games. So the expectations changed for a Cowboys team with Cooper Rush at quarterback, a third-string quarterback, according to everybody except for Jerry Jones. But nevertheless, yeah, the Giants looked like the worst team in that matchup. And I don't blame Dable. I think Dable's play calling was still good. I don't think there was anything notably wrong formation-wise, motion-wise, anything like that. The players just got to execute on a much more consistent basis. And Saquon Barkley got it going in the second half, but was bottled up all first half, and that's a big problem. Outside of Andrew Thomas, the offensive line has continued to struggle. Evan Neal on that right tackle spot still looking really bad in pass blocking, which has not been ideal in the interior. Oh, God, it is a nightmare.
You have to give Evan Neal a little bit of time.
I'll give him time. Run blocking, he's been fine, but pass blocking is still an issue. Daniel Jones, yes, he was pressured a lot, I understand, but even when he did have a clean pocket in the middle of the field, he was making a lot of bad decisions with the ball, overthrowing guys a lot.
Look how bad Thomas looked the first couple of games.
That's fair.
He didn't look really good. Everybody thought he was going to be a bust, and then he started to figure things out, and now he's playing very good. He's a very good left tackle. Evan Neal is too good to look as bad as he has when it comes to pass blocking. That's his strength, was the pass blocking in Alabama, and he played the right tackle position over there. He is playing the right tackle position. I think he just needs to figure things out, and I think he'll be fine. I don't think the tackle positions and the offensive line has been the problem for the Giants. The problem with the Giants is they have no weapons.
Yeah, well, the interior offensive line is a mess, but with the weapons, yeah, they might be even more of a mess at this point.
Oh, my God. They're as horrible as any team in the NFC. There is nothing that sticks out right now that scares you on that Giants team.
You have two guys that are hurt who are going to be gadget-type guys with Toney and Wan'Dale Robinson when they do come back.
When Toney comes back, I think you got a bona fide number one. But he just needs to learn how to shut his mouth. And when he does figure it out and he becomes a superstar wide receiver, if he does become that, hopefully he doesn't turn into Odell Beckham, where the Giants have problems controlling him on the field.
I don't think his mouth is quite there, but I don't also think his talent is there either to the Odell level, because he's very undersized and he's not as skilled overall as Odell was when he came into the league. When it came to a route running standpoint, yes, he might be a little bit faster, but again, it's not by much if he is. And yeah, he's useful for that offense, but still, how will he come back is another question. Yeah, the rest of those wide receivers, no tight ends that are really worth speaking of on this roster. Yeah, they've had a couple that have caught touchdowns, but nothing really to speak of. And Dable's really had to make that kind of thing work. As far as the defense, they did a good job shutting down CeeDee Lamb in the first half, not so much in the second half, but the run defense to the outside, especially to the left, was really bad in that game.
A lot of surprises this past week, and now going into week number 4. Carolina knocking off the Saints. A lot of people thought that Carolina was going to go into the season 0-3. They have looked horrible. When they played the Giants the week before that, the Giants outplayed them. They shut down Christian McCaffrey. They shut down DJ Moore. Baker Mayfield needs to figure out the understanding of what DJ Moore and the type of player DJ Moore is. DJ Moore is a fantastic wide receiver, but you're 3 weeks in and your top wide receiver doesn't have over 300 yards. That is a huge problem. A guy that year in and year out, when healthy, easily has over 1,000 yards. And everybody thought with Baker Mayfield being there, he was going to make DJ Moore a little bit better, and he hasn't.
And these two offenses both are very problematic right now. Getting their running backs going again, McCaffrey and Kamara, two of the best probably like 3 years ago. They're not getting it going right now. DJ Moore not getting it going for the Panthers, and Chris Olave has really been the only guy for the Saints that has played well so far.
Olave has been as good as a lot of people didn't think was going to be in the NFL, really because of his size, because he's so light. I said that about Smith, too, coming from Alabama. I thought he was a very good route runner, but how is he going to fit in the NFL style of game where people are going to beat you up and hit you the way they do, not like college football? Smith has proven a lot of people wrong, and Olave so far has proven people wrong, too. I mean, this guy could do everything and could turn out to be a pretty good wide receiver in this league. Kansas City getting knocked off by Indianapolis. Indianapolis has not looked good the last 2 weeks. Jacksonville and the Texans. You can't sell me when you're in one of the worst divisions in football and you have to play the Texans twice a year and the Jaguars twice a year. Now, I know the Jaguars have been sensational early this season. I believe they'll come down to earth. They're not as good as people think they are. The defense has so many weaknesses. They have just played better football than people thought they were going to. And Indianapolis, they have been putrid. Defensively, offensively. Jonathan Taylor has had a decent season. Pittman, when he stays on the field, he's a good wide receiver. But maybe losing Carson Wentz in the offseason and sending him over there to Washington wasn't the smart move. Matt Ryan is the older quarterback. I just don't trust him when the going gets tough. Is this guy the same quarterback he was with Atlanta when he was an MVP? I don't know if he is.
Yeah, the Colts offense definitely still is concerning because Taylor hasn't practiced this week. Pittman's had issues with injury so far this year, and this is the first game there they really showed some other depth. Jelani Woods, rookie tight end, caught 2 touchdowns, but even their offensive line was not great in that game. The Chiefs' defense kept them in it, but what lost the Chiefs the game were 2 things, one of which was the drops, the other thing was the special teams. Harrison Butker, their kicker, out. Former Jet, Matt Amendola, had to step up, but he did not play well in that game, and the receivers there, it's a big issue for the Chiefs. They might be missing Tyreek Hill now.
Miami knocking off Buffalo. I wasn't surprised. A lot of people thought Buffalo was going to absolutely bone crush Miami. They didn't. Tua's injury and then coming back from the concussion protocol. Miami is definitely going to have to deal with that after what happened on Thursday Night Football. I've been very impressed with Tua. I've been very impressed with this team. Waddle, Tyreek Hill. This offensive line's played better than anybody thought they were going to. McDaniel right now is going for Coach of the Year. He's been fantastic. This 5'4" guy that you wouldn't think would be a football coach, and the way he speaks at these press conferences, standing on chairs, and the players really respect him. I have to give him a lot of respect. He's like a little Oompa Loompa. He knows football. He's been very impressive. The Miami Dolphins have been very impressive offensively and even defensively. Very underrated defensively. Been very impressive.
I think that's been the most underrated facet of them because, yeah, they were getting a lot of their starters back, but it was just a matter of losing Brian Flores. Would they be able to adjust to a new scheme with Josh Boyer? And their pass rush, which I thought was going to be a big weakness for them, has been very good so far. Jalen Phillips in his second year was the worst rookie pass rusher last year among the ones drafted early. He's played well. Melvin Ingram's been fantastic. He's taken over where he left off at the Chiefs last year and has played very well in a 4-3 scheme, which is not normally his natural thing. So very impressive up front, and they're winning close games. They're good in the fourth quarter so far. That's a good test of a battle-tested team. As for the Bills, they had a problem winning close games last year, and so far carried over into this year. When they dominate, but have had trouble down the stretch with play calling. Isaiah McKenzie not getting out of bounds, not ideal either.
Another McDaniels that is probably going to be looking for a new job at the end of the season. A guy that decided to flee New England, which probably was a big mistake, to go down to Vegas. The money that they spent in the offseason for Adams, and I don't know what's going on with the Vegas Raiders, but something needs to give, because if it doesn't, week 4 against the Broncos, and they go 0-4, not only is the heads going to be rolling, there's a good chance that Josh McDaniels doesn't last the regular season. The Raider fans are cruel and vicious. And if this team goes 0-4 or 0-5 with the roster they have and the talent that they have offensively, that's a problem. when you have an offensive-minded coach.
And you have a lot of problems when it comes to replacing all these other coaches, too. The Raiders went from the whole John Gruden scandal last year to an interim coach that rallied around the guys, rallied around all the off-field issues that they had last year, and got them into the playoffs. Their defense played well down the stretch, and then they lose a lot of those players, too. In addition to replacing a head coach, replacing a defensive coordinator, it's just unstable. It doesn't work for that kind of thing. And now going 0-3, losing an ugly one against the Titans. Derek Carr, Devontae Adams did all they could late in the game, but again, they didn't really have much help besides that. Their offensive line's been struggling. Their defense has really been struggling outside of their front four and stopping the run. Derrick Henry went off in this game for the first time, a guy that was struggling the first 2 weeks against the Giants, who don't have a lot of top front seven talent. The Raiders should be better than that, and they're not.
Jacksonville's been a surprise. Trevor Lawrence is becoming the star that we thought he was going to be. They're not games that just are flashy like Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert did. I think we're seeing the growth of what we see Trevor Lawrence could be in the NFL. This Jacksonville team is not a good team defensively. Their offensive line is definitely better than it was last year. James Robinson's a real deal. And if you believe that Travis Etienne is the future running back of this team, you can get a lot for James Robinson right now. He is that good. And he has been the best player on the field for them. They have to decide what they're doing offensively with all the weapons that they have. Chargers are in a lot of trouble. Justin Herbert, a rib injury. You don't know if he's 100%. I've heard that he's been getting shots in his ribs during practices and before the games. That's a little scary and definitely something to worry about when your franchise quarterback is not 100%. You lose Joey Bosa for a significant amount of time. You lose your star offensive tackle, Slater, who's out for the regular season now with an injury, a significant injury. This team is starting to break down, and it's early in the season. Everybody, including yours truly, that thought the Chargers were going to be one of those dominant forces, they have been absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, this defense, we'll see if they can get their depth tested without Joey Bosa. They've done it in the past, but only in certain years. The secondary already banged up as it is, and then the offensive line is the biggest thing being banged up right now. Corey Linsley also got hurt in that game. He might play this week, but still not sure. They've already had issues with the right side of their offensive line when it comes to injuries, and Rashawn Slater being out for the year is a brutal, brutal blow. They've already had issues with Keenan Allen getting hurt and now Justin Herbert, so that's a bad sign for the Chargers. They're going to have their depth tested in a big way. I still think it's capable, but it's going to be very hard. As far as the Jaguars, that defense in the front seven, I got to give them credit for. They've been a great job stopping the run. Yes, their secondary is iffy. I agree with you on that, but rushing the passer, getting that scheme going with Doug Peterson, they're definitely doing it. Offensively, you could definitely see what a competent coach does with Trevor Lawrence. He knows how to spread the ball around. Christian Kirk's had a nice year. Zay Jones had a nice year, too, for the Jags.